All right, we are back now. It is time for the segment that's rocking the world right now. It is what is Nate nerding out about here on the Fantasy Film Room. We've got some rookie running backs potentially growing and expanding their roles. You've got 4 here. I'm going to just throw them out there so we get them all on the record, and we'll see how many we can dive deep on here. One is Basil Tootin / LaQuint Allen. I'm glad you threw that one in there. Woody Marks of the Houston Texans. Devin Neal / maybe potentially cheating with a Kendre Miller answer here for the New Orleans Saints. And then number 4, Kyle Monangai, of course, of the Chicago Bears. So which one of these do you want to tackle first, Nate?
I'll just go in the order you listed. I'll start because that's how my notes are, and that's how my brain's going to work. So I'll go Basil Tootin and the Jaguars situation, I should say. Obviously, I don't think I'm really illustrating anything different here when you see one of the running backs for the Jaguars that was above these 2 rookies got traded to the Eagles and Tank Bigsby. So I was high. You and I have had, I feel like, 10 conversations on this. Maybe it was just because of the draft shows that we did here in Vegas, where I was just like, Basil Tootin became almost like a meme over the weekend. But Tootin is, to me, the most potentially complete back in this backfield. And I'm including Etienne when I say that, because he's better. He has juice like Etienne does. He can do the stuff. He can run in between the tackles, which I think the other running backs did struggle with that they had. And I just do think that there's going to be more to him. I think the coaches like him, and I think they want to get him going. Like Etienne was probably looking on the trade block at one point as well. Where I do think this is going to be more of an even split for a minute, where they kind of have their particular roles. But I thought it was significant. I got to mention Allen as well, because Allen's become like their pass protection back. And that's going to get you reps. And if an injury happens, certain stuff happens with that. So I always keep an eye on these rookies that get pass protection duties, which I'll talk about again with some other guys in this list. But that's why I had to mention Allen in here too, where I do think Tootin has more juice, is the better real running back. And I think that he will earn more reps as the season goes along. I know he's already been drafted pretty high and all that as far as fantasy terms, but I think Allen too is interesting as well. And I think they trust him now. I think they got through that week and they're like, all right, we trust you guys. Bye, Tank. I think they just had to see it before they kind of like really trusted themselves. So those are 2 guys I'm keeping an eye on. And the Jags run game was a little bit better than I was expecting.
Yeah, snap rate for these guys, snap rate was 61.9% for Travis Etienne, leads the way. Tank Bigsby 19%. We can just completely remove that. LaQuint Allen 14.3%, and then 6.3% for Basil Tootin. I feel like LaQuint Allen will probably end up being like Samaje Perine, where he never gets enough touches to matter in fantasy or anything like that, but he's kind of like a snap eater because he pass blocks. And maybe that he got touched the ball twice, 1 run, 1 target in week number 1. And I think like that might just be where he's at, where he just eats snaps like 14.3%. He might just stay there all year. That might shave like a little bit off the upside of whoever the running back 1 is, which right now is Travis Etienne. This is one of these situations, Nate, where I kind of feel like if you drafted Travis Etienne, you were right to do it. And I wasn't out here just like banging the drum for Travis Etienne. I was banging the drum for take a Jags running back. So right now, like I kind of have a mixture of Travis Etienne and Basil Tootin teams. And I think with Tootin, if you can hang on to him through the bye weeks, because right now, like I think Travis Etienne does have to lose the job or get hurt, like to really like for the next, let's just call it the next month and a half. I think he has to lose the job or get hurt in order for Tootin to like really lean in there. So if you can hold him through the bye weeks, which you might not be able to, like a running back that's like not playing, it's tough once like you need to start making injury replacements and putting guys into your flex and stuff like that when people are out. That's going to get difficult. But if you can, I think like you can still be right if you were a Basil Tootin backer in the offseason too, because I'm with you. Like he only had 3 carries in week 1, but there were some impressive like zone rushing reps in week 1. And like, that was who I imagined him to be as a prospect, because like it was an outside zone home run hitter, but I thought like the vision and tempo of his runs were really impressive in week 1 as well.
Yeah, for a guy that tested very fast and, of course, is fast and has juice to it and explosiveness to him, he will do the real running back stuff, meaning between the tackles, a little bit better than I kind of gave him credit for maybe. He has fumble issues too, and which hasn't showed up as well, or showed up so far. And the other thing, though, about Etienne, and I maybe should have checked this out, it's contract year Etienne. And that's always the thing. Always the thing you gotta keep an eye on. A guy that doesn't have a long-term contract is going to, be feeling pretty good during their contract year. But no, what you just said, how you laid it out, Allen is that pass protection back that eats some snaps. I see this almost like would you say 17%? It's funny. I wrote 50, 30, 20 split for a minute, and I could see it becoming more of like a 40, 40, 20 split unless ETN gets hurt or something of that sort. The staff, like they wanted their guys. It's just really hard to go into the season with 2 rookies. And ETN's played well. I thought he made some nice reads as far as a runner. So it's like, I think everything you laid out is exactly right.
Yeah, I think if you have Travis Etienne on your fantasy team right now, like especially here in week 2 against the Bengals defense, you put him in your starting lineup, and then we'll just see what happens the rest of the way with this team. Let's stick in the AFC South and go to the next one here. Woody Marks.
Yeah, this is a curious one. This is more like one I just want to kind of explain the situation than more hype up Woody Marks.
Sure.
Texans backfield though, just Texans offense, man. The offensive line looks shaky. Ed Ingram's somehow become the most important player on this team. The guy that left the most pressures at guard in the entire NFL last year. He gets hurt and becomes just a mess, even more of a mess. I laid into the Texans offense on Sunday night. And then I had some Texans fans go, well, Ed Ingram got hurt, so they had to shuffle. And I go, it doesn't even matter. Like these guys were all potential starters anyway. Like this is what I'm talking about with all these spots. So the run game, Nick Chubb actually looked fine. Nick Chubb had some nice efficient runs. It's Nick Chubb. Nick Chubb is going to get hurt. So then you look at the rest of the backfield. I think a pretty safe bet. I know it's calloused and nihilistic and cynical, but but I look at the rest of the backfield. Dameon Pierce already had a protection botch. This entire team makeup and how far this team goes is based on how they protect. So if you're trusted week 1 and you miss a wide open protection, a guy that's right in front of him and you release, you're out. And that's what happened with his reps. All of a sudden he was gone on all passing downs or anything that could resemble a passing down. Dare Ogunbowale, Badger, somehow still in the NFL, but he's there just to be the safety net. They drafted Woody Marks for a reason. Like that. So me, this is just more of looking at everybody else in the backfield than anything Woody Marks has done so far. And when I watch it so far, I just think that they're going to give him run because of just who's above him and what they've shown so far, what they know. And if Chubb is kind of a ticking time bomb, so it's like just by default, he could kind of take over here. I know Joe Mixon's still lingering, all that stuff, but it's almost like just like a default, the 2 sweetest words in the English language kind of thing, where it's like he might just get the backfield touches just because everybody else drops.
Yeah, Dare Ogunbowale is probably in that same like LaQuint Allen, Samaje Perine role where he just he's going to eat some snaps but he's probably not the same like pass protector as Perine. But anyways, that Dameon Pierce note is definitely instructive because, well, what did you think from like a run game design standpoint? Like, are they more of a gap team or a zone team based on what you said? Because I haven't gotten a chance to rewatch the Texans yet. Maybe just because I don't want to do that to myself. But like, what do you think of that team from because to me, I thought like Pierce might make more sense in a gap based system, which is what he did as a rookie. And then Woody Marks definitely to me, he is like more outside or like maybe not even outside zone code, but just like a zone runner.
The best runs, I'll put it this way, their best runs were split zone, which is zone with and then the tight end slicing across. That's another thing is one of their tight ends got hurt, Kate Stover. It's a very 11 personnel team. And if you're going to be a heavy 11 personnel
and Christian
team,
Kirk was hurt going into like one of those late injuries that like they were not planning for that necessarily.
Right. We got to see some Jalen Noel at least, but
barely, dude. Justin Watson played more snaps than both of the rookies. Like that was my takeaway from that game. Is like they're not ready to trust those rookies yet.
They're not trusting any of the rookies. I know, and there's so much Patriots to this team. Like it's just how they run things and organize things. Big school guys, that type of thing as well. Like just the whole team makeup. So, and that's also a Woody Marks thing is where it's like, are they going to play him? But I thought the best runs, they had some splits on stuff. The Rams run defense isn't the feistiest thing in the world. They try, but they're more built to rush the passer. So they were able to catch him a couple times. Statistically, it wasn't great. Guys had some botches, guys had some losses, but I actually thought they had some decent moments, but it was mostly split zone stuff. So more of a zone team than a true duo team. And that might just be because Ingram was out. Arasuri had to play right tackle instead of left tackle. Cam Robinson's at left tackle. Titus Howard's at right guard. So maybe they're just like, let's just get out of here and just run the most simple zone stuff that we have. So one of those I just want to see when they're have the fully healthy offensive line. It's really hard to say it's going to get that much better, but the offensive line that they wanted to walk into week one with, we'll maybe see a different little scheme stuff.
Yeah, not playing Jared Verse, I think will help too, because like that guy just obliterated Ursery a few times, like just straight power.
Yeah, they nuked them.
Yeah. So hopefully that will help. That's my cope is that the same thing we talk about the Lions. Like my cope is that performance said more about the Rams defense than the Texans protection issues. Right. But that's my Nico Collins bags like shaking in my boots. So that's mostly what that's about. But let's go to the next one here. You've got Devin Neal and Kendre Miller. What's your thought process with this?
It's how the Saints were interesting. We talked about it a little yesterday, and I was able to finish the second half and just watch what happened. And their use of tempo stuff we talked about yesterday was interesting. So I'm like, okay, Kellen Moore. Devin Neal, though, got asked to be their third down protection back, which, again, significant for a rookie. I think Kendre Miller, for once, actually looks competent as well. And really, they didn't.
Well, his head coach doesn't hate him anymore.
He doesn't hate him.
Hopefully.
That helps. But he's trying hard. He's doing the right things, it looks like, on film. It's one of these, just again, it's a backfield where it's like if something happens to Kamara, I've not heard anything or read anything. Is Kamara a trade candidate? But it seems like they're trying to split the reps a little bit more than just Kamara. And I'm just saying that more anecdotally as far as the flow of the game. Like it wasn't just Kamara's show. Like they're actually willing to go 3 running backs deep and giving Neal what I thought are pretty high leverage touches or valuable touches to be a third down protection back with Kamara on the team. I don't know. That's something to me. And he was hurt during the preseason. He had a hamstring. He was able to play the last preseason game. And right after, Kellen Moore's like, oh, Miller and Neal just really stood out to me and how well they did. And I was like, oh, noted. He went out of his way to talk about the 2 young backs. And I know Miller's been a vet for a couple of years. So, but yeah, it's just, and I also think the Saints offensive line's a little bit better than you expect. They've really invested in it. Yeah. And so it's a backfield I'm not totally out on. If you have a deep bench kind of thing where I know Miller's on a lot of rosters, but for Neal, it's just kind of like one of those late dart throws, deep bench stashes that they're already giving them valuable kind of reps. And that's significant to me. And the 2 times they gave him the ball, he got the job done. I had some nice vision, some nice cuts. And I like Neal coming out as a prospect as well. So Neal's just a guy I'm kind of like keeping as a deep stash kind of candidate.
Yeah, I know. We both had like an affection for Neal's just kind of rugged nature, just like maybe a reliable guy. I know Charles liked him as well when we talked about him through the draft process. So I was surprised he fell to the 6th round, but there's going to be some guys that fall. I mean, look at the Commanders are starting a damn 7th round running back right now in Bill. So I mean, the guys fall through the cracks at times, especially in a deep class like this one. But I think my takeaway with this Saints backfield, kind of talked about it yesterday with Ray Garvin, because I liked this, and I talked about it with you as well. I stopped talking about the stupid Saints, but like they're not just like funneling receptions to Alvin Kamara. So yeah, if they do at some point he becomes a trade candidate, it's not like, oh my God, we've lost our lead back and the center figure of our passing game. Because like Juwan Johnson, it was important to them in week 1. Obviously the receivers as well. So it's definitely something to file away for later in the season. But I want to get to Kyle Monangai here, because my guess is you've got him on this list just because his name is not DeAndre Swift. Because we didn't get to talk about this much because obviously
too well.
Well, I also know that I watched that Monday Night Football game, and in all of the discussion about Caleb Williams, not a lot of mentions that run game was abysmal. So I feel like we didn't talk about this enough. But so is the reason we're talking Kyle Monangai here because his name is simply not DeAndre Swift.
That's really it. No, but I do like him overall. But I mean, that is a big part of it. It's just, again, where you're just doing the math of who else is in the backfield. No, their run game sucked. It was 19% success rate, which was, I think, the worst in the league. It's funny because the Lions had their worst game too. So it's like, does everybody just need each other? Aaron, it was Ben Johnson, Dan Campbell, and Aaron Glenn. I thought Drew Dahlman was mediocre at center, a lot of pressures, had some bad bad moments as well. They had some weird cadence stuff.
Yeah.
The cadence stuff I'm willing to wave away because I think they're trying to change it up so much and really use that as a weapon, but that takes time and reps and everything. So they're heavily penalized. But Monangai, I mean, you just look at some of the quotes that like Ben Johnson has said about him. He said like he fully trusts him. This is an exact quote. Monangai has really hit a stride there over the course of the spring and training camp. Johnson said, I trust that guy at this point. There's a big thing to say for a young player like that. He tends to do everything right. And we've already talked about some Ben Johnson stuff. For a guy that I think is a stickler for detail, to say that about 7th round rookie, I'm listening. There's a reason. Roschon Johnson's always banged up, and he should be the short yardage third down back in this offense. Well, Monangai might take those reps, and DeAndre Swift did nothing to go like, oh, well, we got to keep DeAndre Swift on the field. Like, so I just think there's just a lot of tea leaves I'm reading here where Monangai, I think, ends up taking over this backfield in some way, shape, or form, just because of who else is back there. And Ben Johnson's going to want to run the ball.
I mean, yeah, the quote we had on the screen from him earlier, like, how do I get Kyle Monangai, or how do we get Kyle Monangai more involved? Quote, I need to call more runs, which
right.
I think we do need to call more runs, but also maybe not. DeAndre Swift, 100% of the running back carries in week 1. DeAndre Swift, 100%. A guy that probably fell out of favor with this. Of all the things that Ryan Poles has done, and there's been a lot of questionable things, like that DeAndre Swift contract, the moment free agency opened, still is such a weird one, man. And he's the most obnoxious kind of fantasy guy to rank in the beginning of in August and stuff. Cause like, well, he's going to get a lot of touches, and week 1, he gets all the touches, and it's like, all right, well, saw what that was worth. Like, well, and it's like, great, you got 8 fantasy points out of it. Like that's, and I felt watching the game, I was like, that felt like a lot. So it's just difficult with this backfield right now. Cause as we mentioned on 301-2, it's also going to like put them constantly behind the sticks. So I think at some point, and that's not what you want out of Caleb Williams at this point. You do not want him in those situations. We want to have positive down and distance situations so that he can actually look to rip those throws 10 plus yards over the middle of the field that I've been harping on this